Hello, Malolide, Talofa, Pulavinaka, Kiora, and Aloha,
Mm,
everyone. Thank you for joining us this beautiful New Zealand evening over here. It's about almost 5 o'clock. Beautiful day today.
malo, malo. So coming back, I wanted this is this is going to be a fully AI. AI seems even AI is hitting our Polynesian content. So this
Oh,
dude, he's gonna he's gonna speak in English. He looks Polynesian, but just from the body language, I'm pretty sure he's AI. Um, but he's gonna talk to us about the lost continent of Mu. So let's get it rolling.
They say all legends have a truth behind them. In the
oh
1920s,
yeah,
an
that's AI.
aging British explorer named James Churchward shook the world with a bold claim. He said he had discovered the origin of all human civilization, not in Africa, not in Asia, but in a lost continent called Mu. According to Churchward, Mu was a vast and powerful land in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, bigger than South America, home to 64 million people, and the birthplace of science, spirituality, and ancient knowledge. He claimed he learned this from secret stone tablets hidden in India and Mexico, written in a dead language only a few could read.
Mm.
Churchward said the people of Mu were spiritually advanced. They built temples, mastered energy from the sun, and lived in peace. Until one night, the earth turned against them. Volcanoes erupted, the sea swallowed the land, and in a single day, Mu disappeared beneath the waves, lost forever. No evidence of Mu exists. Scientists call it fantasy, but believers say the truth is hidden in ancient symbols scattered across Egypt, Maya temples, Polynesia, and more. So here's the question: was Churchward a madman or a messenger of forgotten history? Could Mu have really existed, or was it all just myth wrapped in mystery? Drop your thought. They say all legends have a truth.
Ooh,
Oh well. Oh well. What are the reactions, Mr. Atero?
jeez. Well, I don't even know what to say because this is just out there in
This is
space a
new
little
stuff.
bit. This is
This
like
is new stuff.
new stuff. I mean, I can understand maybe the Mexico, there is some kind of connection there because I'm a believer of the people before of Polynesians coming from that part of the world, that Mexico, Central America, maybe even Northern America to South America that can come from, and maybe there was, people there. You're talking, man, if we're talking about a lost continent that far away and the people still existing that far, I mean that's pretty we that means we must have been connecting. I'm thinking like this is when the world was all the land masses were just one and connected. I don't
Pangea.
know. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. But man, it's pretty crazy, just like we always say in the live digital kava session, I'm keeping my mind open. I'm learning of this. This is the first time I've heard any kind of information about Moo. So, I just don't know what to say. I'm just kind of like, okay, possibly, you know,
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah, interesting. So I don't
So
know. You can probably expand on that more, Dua. Your thoughts?
I was thinking it's like so this is the Pacific version of Atlantis. Because Atlantis is obviously in the Atlantic Ocean. So is Mu the Atlantis of the Pacific Ocean? That's what it kind of sounds like. Or is this too crazy of a thought? That's where the Menehune come from. They were from Mu, and Mu sunk into the ground, and the Menehune just dispersed out into Eastern Polynesia. I don't know. this is definitely on the edge of thinking, but I guess this Churchward guy put his name to it and kind of pushed for it really hard and
Mm.
said they were tablets on an ancient language. Kind of sounds like the Book of Mormon story to me, but I don't know.
Oh, oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow.
Now we're getting
Man,
all over the place, like you're saying, Masi. This is interesting. I mean, it would have to have happened so long ago that I don't know a lot of Tongan oral history that would talk about such
mm,
a continent. Or, I mean, granted, and I just throwing that out there. I mean, our ancestors point to Vaihi. We believe Vaihi is South America. But I'll tell you this: if such a continent existed, could that have been Vaihi at some point? I don't know, because obviously
mm.
Mu is connected to South America or the Americas, because the tablets in the Americas,
Mexico.
they say,
Yeah, yeah.
spoke about it.
Mm.
So very interesting. I don't know what to really make as to what's facts, and you know what's something that's reasonable to be open to, but it's something I haven't really thought a lot of, but our viewers have brought it up on several occasions. So I thought, hey, when I saw the video, I was like, well, we'll talk through this, because this seems to be something that is part of the Kava conversations in other
Yeah,
parts of Polynesia. So I thought we would just watch it, react to it, and see what other discussions are from our brothers and sisters in different parts of Polynesia regarding the
yeah,
missing continent of Mu.
yeah. And just an invitation out there to our viewers who probably have more information. We already have some really good viewers who always send Tua and I stuff, articles, and other maybe things that probably will help our knowledge, and new information has come out, are always on top of it, sending it to us. For those who have an interest in this Mu ideology and way of thinking, send us some content and stuff, and the more we can discuss, the more Tu and I can be familiar with this idea of Mu. So, just an invitation out there for everybody.
Hmm. Malo, malo. Very, very interesting, Marie. So let's see. Kind of going along with that, if there's nothing else on that topic, Mr. Ateroa, we will go to our next one. This is another AI generated.
All
AI is the
right.
way to go, people. AI is the way to
I would
go.
I would have to say that that last AI was pretty darn good. Like, man, I had to pick it out from like the way his moves. It was a little unnatural and kind of thing, but that's one of the better AIs I've kind of seen. And it's only gonna get better.
Visually, right?
Yeah,
Visually, it looked pretty convincing, but it wasn't until it started to move.
yeah, yeah.
So apparently, I closed the chat. Let me see if I can find right here. I found it. I'm gonna bring this. Let's share this tab. So this one, I don't know if you've seen these videos, these AI generated videos, Must where they show the history of a country, and it just show
No.
the years as it goes by. So this one, they do it with like a bunch of like European
Mm,
nations, right? And they just show what happened over the centuries. So this one is on Samoa, and it happens relatively quickly. But
okay.
let's just watch through it and then react to it. So let's do this. Let's stop.
Did it go
Let's
all the way
stop.
to the
So,
BC?
huh?
No, I said did it start from the BC?
Yes.
Interesting.
So they're saying the Matai system started at 500 AD. I'm assuming.
Hmm.
What do you think is the driver behind that?
maybe I'm. Well, the only thing I can think of is this is during the time of Tangaloa, maybe or orchestrating the civilization, centralizing the power of the you know Tangaloa, which is the only sole ruler of Polynesia, located in Tongatapu, and he's around in the other islands, orchestrating, and not only that, developing their systems, which Dr. Xiaoxi Eli, you have mentioned, have always rotated, which it was like a decentralized rotating of titles that would bring their daughters to marry with the Tangaloa or the Tuitonga, which continue that practice of the Tokatufa. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. I don't know if I could
Yeah, I mean
be.
that's what kind of sticks out to me. I mean,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the 500 AD. I mean, Devita Fales,
.450.
Tuitonga line starts around 450, but could be much earlier than that.
Yeah,
Um, but this is what I'm talking about that I think is very interesting. Now, granted, we don't know what data is being used here, but
yeah,
if we were to take this as being accurate, we see from the very beginning, Ha'amoa was a Matai system, not a unified king or
correct.
centralized power, which to
Yeah,
me makes sense. But once again, it is very difficult to have an empire with a Matai system because there's no consistency in leadership. Like
yeah,
that's one of the reasons why America is not built for empire to be an empire or an empire nation because every 4 years you could get a new leader who has how can you get more opposite in leadership and vision than Joe
yeah,
Biden and Donald Trump? So within 4 years, you could have a total 180, but it's hard to do that when you're trying to build an empire. You need consistent leadership, centralized power, same group of people with the same vision over long periods of time. But
yeah. No, no, and just to add on to you're right because this is going with David Tafare's list with the 450 of when the first Tuitonga started. It just shows you that this is why Samoa was never unified. They were always decentralized. It was never unified. That's why how can, and there is that idea. They said that Ha'amoa or the Tui Manua gave birth to the Tuitonga. How can, if Ha'amoa and even Tutuila and Manua were never all one, how can they learn how to be empire building when they never did it themselves? That's why Tangaloa lived in Tongatapu, and that was that skill that was passed on to the Tuitonga of how to build empire, and that's why it was unified through the Tongan archipelago, like the close islands there, and it spread it out. But when the empire was shrinking, it was only consolidated to what Tonga is now, what Polynesia used to be in a bigger scale. But that's the other idea here, that the Matai system is like what you said. It's a system not built for empire building, right? It's
yeah,
really you really can't build an empire with the Matai system because, like I said, in the Matai system, and I can speak on this. It's good for within villages because when you go from one village to another, there's different set of rules, and even within that whole west coast of Upolu or east coast, you go between villages, you can have different set of laws, and if you didn't like that other village or you were banished, you go to a different village that would accept you. So that's why that's not built for empire building. That's
empire
another
building. Yeah,
that's a evidence why Tangaloa didn't come from there. The Tuitonga didn't learn that from Ha'amoa or Manua or Tutuila. It was all from Tongatapu because Polynesia was a Polynesian was the Tuitonga Empire. So
yeah,
yeah, that's just that.
and and just to kind of to drive that even further, Masi is look at how resilient the Tongan system is. You don't get that type of resilience for being so young. You get that type of
Yeah.
resilience because it's been something that has been ingrained and reinforced for thousands of years. That's where that resilience comes from. I mean, that's another really interesting thing to take into account.
Mm.
So let's go to the next one. Early inter-island alliances and warfare.
Okay.
1200?
That's pretty broad, but
Dude,
I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
pretty broad and pretty young at 1200.
Yeah.
Tonga is getting close to its peak
Uh,
of the
yeah.
Tui Tonga Empire.
Yeah. They're saying the peak was what 1200 to 1500 tua of the
Yeah.
Tuitonga. Mm,
So what? And then once again, this is just inter-island
yeah.
alliances, right? And yet, a lot of the ideas we hear is, oh, the Tui Manua is already, and this actually fits a lot closer to that study that we did that said the Tui Manua was only 500-600 years old, and it would have been around the 1500s,
Mm,
right? So interesting. And once
mm,
again, we're just reacting to a video. We don't know what kind of research was done to this video, but that's true about every other comment on social media. But
yeah.
hey, someone actually took some time to try and put this together. We're just
Yeah.
kind of giving our thoughts behind it. So we're by no means trying to say this is a scientific video. Arrival of Tongans, 1310.
What is that? Are they trying to say is that during the Salamasina era? I don't know.
See, but this is the thing. Obviously, we take a very different approach
Mm,
that we take a more integrated, right? Like if we go
yeah.
all the way back to the beginning, we would say that the Matai system was a deliberate system set up by Tangaloa to decentralize power because power was centralized on Tongatapu under the Tangaloa.
Mm,
So we would say there was no Tonga and there was no Samoa. We were all the Polynesian nation.
mm.
So there's to kind of say, oh, the arrival of the Tongans. You're saying the Tongans never came over there before the 1300s? Like, I find that hard to believe.
Yeah. And in that time, that's almost like from driving. That's almost like a drive from Auckland to Hamilton in today's. Understanding like there's no way the Tongans could have just arrived 1310. That's almost like just down the road trip. It's hilarious. It's almost the
Yeah,
same idea when some people have commented that Eastern Polynesia was so separate um nation kind of thing. I was like, dude,
yeah,
Eastern Polynesian was just another. Instead of going to Hamilton from here, you're going to Rotorua. That's all it is. It's another. So it's an hour away, from here to Hamilton, and it's like add 2 more hours, you're in Rotorua. That's Eastern Polynesia. So that's how it is today.
yeah.
Like that's how our ancestors were back in those days. With sailing was very common, man, in that time.
You know what that reminds me of? I'm gonna pull it. We weren't planning to share this, but can't help it now that you brought up this video. But you know how we talked about how there's this idea or separation of like
We
Eastern
had
Polynesians and New
West.
Zealand Maoris. Yeah. So this is why we have to have these live digital kava sessions and we have to have these conversations. Because if we don't, then those ideas, like you're saying, that Eastern Polynesian their own thing. There's a
Yeah.
reason why you're called Eastern what? Polynesian.
Yes.
Because everybody observed and saw same language, same appearance, same religious setups, and very much similar cultural
Yes.
similarities. Now,
Yeah.
if we don't have these conversations and remind ourselves of how we are the same people,
Maori
this
and
is what you're going
Polynesian
to sound
can't always
like.
tell the difference between the two. But will take to know if they're Maori or not. If they're poly, like if they're islanders, they will say sharks. Maoris don't say that. Maoris don't say sharks. That's such a poly thing. So you say Maoris and Polynesian can't tell the difference.
Hey, this is how I know. This is too. I'm just kind of like seeing. It's like this girl probably has never left Auckland or New Zealand. Eh? Probably never. She's never left the island of Aotearoa, and maybe the furthest she's gone is to Sydney, Australia, and come back after a week. Yeah. Hey, but that's what I'm thinking. That's what she's screaming to me. And I was like, oh, hey, but we're here to say, hey, you're a Polynesian just like everybody else. Some people just use shucks that don't use what you tend to use when you grew up. That's all it is. But I don't know. What's your thoughts, Tua? What's your
No,
thoughts?
this is this is what happens when you forget that they, like she said, the difference between a Maori and a Polynesian. And you're like, well, number one, you forgot that Maoris are Polynesian. Then number
Yeah.
two, she goes, the difference, if they say this, shucks, they're definitely an islander. And I'm like, New Zealand is an island. It's a two, three, four, five islands. If you add the Chatham Island or
It's
whatever.
funny.
I'm like, I think
No,
Homegirl thinks she lives on the lost continent of Mu.
but-
Maybe she's hanging out with the Menehunes. She's hanging out with the Menehunes, and she thinks she's living on the lost continent of Mu.
so you're saying she only walks around and gets out of the house at night and sleeps during the day, Tua? Yeah? No, 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 and this is why you're saying why it's important we give our we have a conversation about this, because if this doesn't happen, look, we're having this next generation saying that Maori and their specific islanders, Polynesians, who are totally separate. Like, if we don't speak on it, that becomes the dominant theory out
This
there,
is the
and then
ideas that
just this
see.
is the ideas what happens. So this is why we have the live digital kava session on the Polynesianized podcast, so we can discuss, and then this will be shared with our Polynesian people, and saying, that's incorrect. We're all one people. We're not this separate thing like this young lady is sharing here, which is
Yeah,
funny. But
see, like we said, we want the ideas to compete, and you want a bad idea to die quickly in the live digital conversation. If she joined us in the live digital conversation and she made those comments, we would have been like, sister, let us
mm,
remind you, you are a Polynesian, right? You don't live on the lost continent of Mu. You live on an island called New Zealand. So you're not only a Polynesian, but you're an islander, a
yes, you
Polynesian
are.
islander. So
Yes,
we
you
could
are.
have saved her a lot of heartache.
That's hilarious,
But
Tua. That's funny.
our last comment had reminded me of this video, so I had to bring it up. Mr. Aotearoa, we have another super chat.
Ooh,
Mika, Maroa Pito Maukava. Mika.
yes, Malo Maukava.
So he says, Toko, did you have a look at Lami Tuayava, guy who claims Samoa ruled Tonga? Anyways, Malo Motama. We did read your comment, your super thanks earlier, Mika. We're going to reach out and try and find an opportunity. He does make a correction to the spelling here. He
Mm,
says Langi Tuayava.
mm.
Sorry for the wrong spelling. Not all good, but we're gonna reach out. And just so you know, Mika, Mr. Aotearoa has been working hard. We're gonna have a Samoan brother join us tomorrow for a live digital kava session. Talk through some history, current events. Just have a Tala Noa session here in the live digital kava session. But any comments on this super chat, Mr. Aotearoa?
No, appreciate it, Mika. Thank you for your constant support on the Polynesianized podcast. And tomorrow, just what Tua mentioned, we're having a Samoan doctor, goes by the name Sunny Natanielu. So tomorrow's live digital cover session will be a strong Samoan flavor for our mix tomorrow. But
Iyo,
thank you again, Mika.
iyo, malo Maukava, Mika, malo. Oh yeah, we had too much of a laugh on that one, Mr. Aotearoa. Let's go
Mm,
back and find our video to
that was
when the
funny.
Tongans arrived. When the Tongans arrived. Let's go back to when the Tongans arrived. Okay, so our Tongans arrived in 1310.
Hmm. So
Rise of the
1510.
Marietoa line, 1510.
I think it's a little bit before that, because it still had to be at the height of Kalufo Nuafekai, right? Because he still goes back, or maybe because I don't know what's the
Istalakai
year.
Faiki.
Oh, Talagai Faiki, but wasn't it Kalufonua Fekai that oh no, that's
Moves
he's
to
way
Samoa.
before. He's way before,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, maybe that's about right. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Tua?
Well, Talakai Faiki is before Kaufonua Fekai, if I remember correctly. So
Mm.
what sticks out to me is, once again, if we go off of the physical evidence, they said that the Manua started around that time. And I'm pretty
Mm.
sure everyone in Ha'amoa says Manua is older than Marietoa.
Yes.
So this is kind of interesting that this individual says the Marietoa line starts in 1510. Once again, this is at the height of the Tuitonga Empire. And I think, if I remember correctly, the next episode that we have lined up to come out on the podcast is going to be a discussion on the Marietoa Tuna and Fata story, because I think
Ooh.
Masi, you and I both agree we take more of a, this was a little brotherly kick in the
Scuffle.
face,
Oh,
punch in the back, but not a full blown war.
that conversation remind me of the Battle of Velata. It was a scuffle. A scuffle.
Yeah,
That's what it was. It wasn't a full war. This is a little battle scuffle of two young alpha males just testing their influence and political maybe power, potential
yeah.
power.
Young men coming of age trying to vie for political and military power. Here's the one thing, Masi, I haven't seen a unified king or leader since the beginning of Hamoa in this storyline, which we would say is accurate, right? This is
That is
accurate
hundred
because
percent.
Ha'amoa was not known for consolidating of power, right? It was like other parts of Polynesia, as
Mm,
designed by Tangaloa and the Tuitonga, decentralized power that shared power amongst a handful of families that were all related slash descended from Tangaloa and related to the Tuitonga and were intermarried with those high-ranking families to maintain those relationships throughout the islands in the Polynesian Empire. So yes,
mm.
that's kind
Yep.
of the thoughts there. Anything else, Mr. Atearoa?
No, play the video. Mm,
First
okay.
European contact, 1722. Okay.
I wonder where
Tonga was
that
what,
was.
1700s as well? Oh, you want to know who
Early.
that is, Masi?
Yeah, which island? If it was Manua, Tutuila, or Polu, or Savai? I'm just curious where where did that first European contact happen? Because I'm just curious if it was during the if it was during a time that it was during the one of the prominent titles like Maria Toas in the Western Samoa time, or was it more of the Tui Manua titles in American Samoa that maybe even made contact? Because I'm just thinking wherever the Europeans at the highest political authority would have made some contact with them, and that's where my question came from.
All right. Well, let's do this. I'll read it. It says the first recorded contact between Samoans and Europeans occurred in 1722. So the video got it right.
Mm-hmm.
When Dutch explorer Jacob Ragoveen sighted the
Mm-hmm.
Manua Islands, now part of American Samoa. This marked the initial European encounter with the Samoan archipelago, though Ragoveen did not land, only observing the islands and naming them the Bauman Islands after one of his captains. This brief sighting involved no direct interaction with Samoans, who were likely unaware of the Europeans' presence. The Samoans at the time were part of the vibrant Polynesian culture, skilled in navigation and living in fortified coastal villages led by Matai slash chiefs, with no immediate impact from this distant observation. The next significant contact came in 1768 when French explorer Louis Antoine de Bougainville visited and named the Samoan Islands the Navigator Islands, reflecting the Samoans' renowned seafaring skills. Like Roggeveen, Bougainville's interaction was minimal, primarily involving observation and trade with islanders in the Manua group. Geez, Manua
Oh,
was super
Manu again.
popular.
Mm.
With no recorded landings or conflicts, the Samoans engaged in trade, likely exchanging goods like food or mats, but specifics are sparse. A more impactful encounter occurred in 1787 when French navigator Jean Francois de Galaup, Commandant de la Perouse, you like my French there,
Yeah.
visited Tutuila, now in American Samoa, on December 13th, 1784. La Perouse sent two exploration parties to Tutuila's north shore. One from the ship Bosol landed in Fangasa, oh, the
Mm.
sacred Fanga, and
Mm.
another Lestabla at Asu. A violent clash erupted at Aasu Bay, later called Massacre Bay, triggered by tensions from an earlier incident at Pangasa. A Samoan from a visiting Upolu delegation, angered by being ejected from La Perouse's ship after attempting theft, incited a crowd. When La Perouse crew sought water at Assau, they were attacked, resulting in the deaths of 12 Frenchmen, including First Officer Paul Antoine Florit de la Galle and an estimated 39 Samoans. Ooh,
Mm.
Sale, I thought there was higher efficiency rate there. 12 Frenchmen, so a 2-1 loss. La
That's
Perouse
yeah.
described Sao as a treacherous place, and the incident gave Samoa a reputation for hostility, deterring Europeans visitors for decades. Now, this is the big difference of the experience of Europeans with Tonga, right? It was quite the opposite
Yeah.
when they visited Tonga. Not a lot of theft, not really any issues in fighting,
And it was
except when they
calculated
did.
behind. Yeah, and it was
Yes,
calculated.
and when it did happen, there were no evidence to go back to Europe to record such a thing. So,
Mm. No, no,
oh, go ahead, Masi.
no. I was gonna just say, and then when they did wanted to ransack a ship, and remember, Tonga. When I say the current Tonga now has the record of ransacking European ships, and it's either one, very few, not even double digits, people would lose their lives. Like it was very minimal of Tongan lost lives. Like that 39 Samoans passed away just for, and then compared to 12, man, that's a huge imbalance,
Mm.
of loss. So
Looks like a relevant comment here. Theo Fen is, hey, welcome, Theo, to the live digital kava session here, Polynesian Eyes podcast. But he says, Tutuila in those days was under the rule of Upolu Matai. I don't know
that's
what
it.
that is. Do you? What
Yeah,
is that?
Upolu Matai.
The
That's
other
under
island?
the Upolu Matai system, or high, one of the top title holders of Upolu, overseeing the the land of Tutuila, American Samoa, which is interesting, and that gives the thought that this gentleman Theo is adding that Manua's the Tui Manua influence only was in Manua. It looks like Upolu has a lot of influence in Tutuila because Tutuila is closer to Manua Islands,
Mm,
which is very
okay.
interesting.
And Theo also adds the Upolu party came through to attack La Perouse and his men because the Frenchmen had taken some Samoan women. Oh, yeah, yeah, we're not huge fans of the French.
Yeah,
So,
French, the
so
French just, yeah, they're interesting folks. Eat, sleep, and drink of
and
the French
have
now.
croissants, make some
Little
croissants.
little songs. Did you want me to read that
Okay.
next paragraph, Tua, or?
Yeah, go ahead, read that one out, and then we'll go back to the video.
All right. These early contacts involved no permanent European presence. The Samoans, organized under their Matai system and unaware of the broader implications of European exploration, continued their traditional way of life. Significant European influence began later, with missionaries like John Williams arriving in 1830, marking a shift toward cultural and religious transformation. Okay, that's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll come back to the video here. So far, the one thing we've checked on the video panned out. even though it
Yeah.
was more just a sighting.
Yeah.
So at least this person seems to have done some homework.
Yeah. And no, and I'm glad too that we kind of looked in the first in contact, because it looks like it's that American Samoan now that did all the early contacts with the Europeans, the islands of Tutuila and Manua. Mm.
Mm. So this is that one that the guy was mentioning, or our digital researcher was mentioning later on, right? So later on,
Mm.
the missionaries arrive and bring religion and
Yep.
literacy. Civil wars. We've so this is when the civil wars happened. We do have two videos that we've scheduled or saved. We do want to walk through some videos that were put together on. And I didn't know this, but
Mm.
Samoa had two civil wars, not just one. They went through two civil wars that I was not aware of. So this is something that maybe in some future episodes we'll walk through. We almost did it a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, but I can't
Okay.
remember what we ended up going with. We went with another video, but this is something we hope to walk through here in the future, is go through some of the history of the civil wars in Samoa.
Okay.
Tripartite. I don't know much about that. Is that part of the civil wars too? Yes,
That
that's the
gotta be.
second of multiple civil wars. Yes, this is also, I remember hearing this, because they tried to do a tripartite agreement and it just didn't work out, so they ended up fighting again.
Okay.
Mao movement.
Mm.
I love that. Remittances and global. Because that's true also of Tonga, right? Like
Yeah.
remittances is such a big part of the economy. If you take away remittances from Tonga, Samoa, and Polynesia, all of our economies will crash, right?
Mm.
Just it's crazy how much money the diaspora throughout the world, the Polynesian diaspora, how much money they send back home.
I would say this, Tua. I think French Polynesia would have been okay without remittance. American Samoa would be okay without remittance. It's the, you know what's gonna hurt, crash the economy. It's the independent nations like Samoa,
Mhm.
Fiji, Tonga.
Yeah,
It
because
it's
they
those
can't
ones.
pull the
Yeah.
resources from, when you're still part of a larger country or nation as a territory, you can pull the resources
Yeah.
from them to stabilize your economy, but the independent nations would struggle a
Yeah.
lot. I agree 100%. Like we said earlier, there's pros and cons of being independent, right? There's certain pros of being colonized, and we've kind of mentioned this, especially for French Polynesia, Samoa. Well, I guess all of Polynesia, because Tonga is the only one that didn't get colonized. The negative is you lose your autonomy, and you have a higher risk of losing your language, your culture, and so forth. But the pro is you get access to more resources. You get to go overseas and partake of the opportunities that overseas provides. Now, if you remain independent, you keep your sovereignty, keep your independence, have a better ability to make decisions on how or what you're willing to exchange, right, in your
Yeah.
culture
Yeah.
to progress. But then the negative is you don't get access to the resources of overseas and the opportunities. Because I mean, let's look at it as, if you were Samoan from the late 18 or mid 1800s, you started to have the opportunity to go to Germany, Europe. So
America.
basically, Europe, America, and New Zealand, well before any Tongans could really have significant opportunities to go overseas. And then the infrastructure that a smaller nation can benefit from U.S. money, from German money, and New Zealand / UK money. There's certain advantages in that too. So yeah, kind of interesting when you kind of take into account pros and cons, no matter what happens. Anything else, Mr. Aotearoa?
No, just to add on to like the pros and cons, right? The like what you said, Tonga, it has so much rich oral history, ruins, all of these things that exist because we were never colonized. And, now that our other Polynesian brothers and sisters, because of what happened with colonization, um, those oral histories and stuff are a lot more, let's just say, mixed, because when you have interruption interfering with your daily affairs and the 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 communication of generation to the next generation, you can get a lot of oral histories that can be mixed up and confusing and maybe conflicting too,
Mm.
with each other. So that's what I'm saying with the culture, language, and preserving it. It's really rich in the core with Tonga. That's why Tonga is never too, let's just say, too Tonga is never too worried about when people tell Tongan history. It's kind of like, they're just telling it because they don't know it. You know what I mean? While other Polynesian, our other brothers and sisters from the Polynesian nation, they get a little bit too sensitive when they have other non-Polynesians speak on their behalf, because, like I said, it's because they've been colonized. That's not the right
There's
way that
trauma
they.
with that, right?
There's
There's
trauma with
sensitivity.
that
Hmm.
sensitivity, while Tongans just say, "Oh, they're not Tongan. They're just they have a PhD. They're just speaking what they learn in school and stuff." But when it comes to speaking on the history, we can have people that no one knows of in Tonga that can speak on, okay, that's incorrect. This is the real history, and speak on that because they've been the caretaker of a specific part in the Tongan or Polynesian history that they can speak on. So that's all. I just want to explore on
Mm.
that, why Tonga in the Polynesian family is not too sensitive like our other Polynesian brothers and sisters. That's all.
Yeah, and understandably so, right? They're a
Yes.
little bit more sensitive because they've gone through something. So has Tonga. Tonga has gone through some tough times, but there's been some unusual circumstances, that challenging circumstances that our brothers and sisters in
Mm.
the other islands have gone through as well. So understood that. Looking at the time, Mr. Aotearoa, we're gonna skip our next topic, and we're gonna close out the show with some social media comments,
All right,
if
let's
that's
do that.
okay with you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So
Sir.
yeah, looking at the time, we're gonna skip some of our initial planned stuff, and there were some interesting comments. Actually, uh, been pleasantly surprised by our last episode in the podcast that was released. It's gotten a lot of attention, and appreciate it. It's good for us, more exposure. Um, but there were also some interesting comments that came out of that, right?
Mm.
Let me see if I can
This
find it.
is this the our last video you we put up on the Polynesian?
Yes,
Okay.
this
All
was
right.
the one on the languages where we did the
Okay.
analysis on the Proto-Polynesian and so forth. Um, so like here's one that's kind of interesting. This is from Vaileaonga Matangi Ilisara, whatever it is. I'm not a Samoan there, but it says here, you need to listen to Dr. Taliai of Tongan and Tongan history. The Tongans, at least the Tui Tonga dynasty and the Tui Kanukupolu, all came from Samoa. It's all recorded by the Tui Tonga Tupou family. AI collects all information from Google, much of which are proved to be all studies by people outside of the islands and the academics from outside. Samoans and Tongans are the same people, but stop trying to make Tonga the origin. Tongans never ruled Samoans. The Tongan who lived in Samoa were used as part of the Painga of Samoa dynasty to reinforce his dominance, and that's why Tuna and Fata fought them and destroyed them. They then way you are the way you are going at finding your conclusions are very Western and mechanical, which is not the proper way to understand the Polynesian world. Did you even grow up in the islands and understand the island context and language, etc.? Look up the documents kept by the Tuitonga dynasty of Tonga about where they came from. Hmm. Pasi, where did you grow up that you have mechanical thinking? Don't you know that
uh,
Tuitonga's records tell us these things?
no, it's just very funny for our Uso over here. There's he asked a bunch of questions. We asked him to go to the video. We've already done a video with Dr. Taliai and his version of Tongan history. You can go there and find it. It's in our many videos. We've released so many videos because that was a common comment that we received during that time. So we did a reaction to that. You can find our thoughts there. Uso, and then the other one is regarding the history of Tonga being the origins. Like I said, we've already presented our ideas. You can provide something different. All you've just said is just what your dad's told you or your grandpa's told you. There's really no other evidence that you can provide that Hamo is the origin. But hey, we appreciate your comment here. And just to re-clarify, Tua and I did grow up in Tonga. We both understand Tongan. Tua also has been to Samoa, not just Western Samoa, but American Samoa, Fiji, and even here in Hawaii and New Zealand. I've done all of them too. So we've been around Uso. So that's just my thoughts there. Tua, I don't know if you had anything else.
Yeah, I did just a couple of things to add to that is not only did we already react to Dr. Taliai's TEDx talk, we've reached out to him
Yeah.
to request for him to join us so he can provide the best version of his idea, right? We
Mhm.
believe here in the Polynesian Eyes live digital kava sessions for the ideas to compete. And we want the best idea. We want the best version. We want you to give yourself, if you want to, give yourself a fight camp, a idea camp. So when you come on the show, you can
Mm,
give the best version of your ideas. Um, and so that's something that I think is very interesting. Some of the comments about Tuna and Fata, that's probably perfect timing. We're going to
yeah.
release our interpretation of the Tuna and Fata story. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, there's like oral histories in Tuvalu. I think is
Yeah.
it Tuvalu or Tokelau that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
say that Tuna and Fata are from their island. So what are we going to do? Right? So who are we going to believe? Are we going to believe that Tuna and Fata are Samoan, or are they from Tuvalu or
Or
Tokelau,
outside of Samoa. Yeah.
or outside of Samoa, right? Like, who
Yeah.
are we going to believe? This is why we have to have these conversations. And my last comment is you mentioned Western way of viewing our history. Brother, that's exactly what we think
You're
Dr.
doing.
Taliai
Yeah.
and
That
you
yeah.
are doing is you're coming in with a very foreign and Western perspective. I can tell you with confidence that the information we share are from the Tuitonga
Yeah.
archives. And what are the Tuitonga archives? It's in the DNA, it's in the blood, and it's in the ruins throughout the ancient capital of Polynesia, Tongatapu on Mua.
Yeah.
Anything to
Yeah.
add to that?
Yes. Well, and then also add a lot of the information we share is from Tevita Fale. Tevita Fale didn't go to an academic school, Uso. Like that's another thing. He didn't go to an academic school. He never finished even high school. He has devoted his whole life on uncovering the Polynesian origin. So this is just all his work we're just speaking on. So sorry, he didn't go to an academic school, so that's not a Western school. Every academic school is a Western school, and today the school that Devita Fale has mentioned are the traditional schools of the Kariloa and the Tanoa, the ancient Polynesian schools. That's the only school he has. He didn't have a paper from the Palangi University, like he always says. So just to add to that, to say that we
Yeah.
coming from a Western view, this is David Tafale's work that we're just sharing with the world that that's his school that he only has was the Kariloa and the Tanoa are the educational schools in Polynesia in Mua.
Yes, and so I would assume you would take those credentials,
Yeah.
brother Vailua. I'll just call you Vailua. Um,
Okay.
the last one, then this is the one that is going to be interesting, and this is one of the next things that's kind of tied to our sister who said you want to know the difference between Polynesians and Maoris, right? This comment here by Te Roa. He says. Mangaiya in the Cook Islands is the oldest island in the whole of the Pacifica. Thoughts, Mr. Ateroa?
Well, Mangaiya, like what I said, the oldest island, but we're talking about people settling in Polynesia, which is still in Tongatapu in Nukureka. So, they probably have the oldest island, but it's just an island. There is no evidence of people settling there earlier. The only early evidence of human settlement in Polynesia is in Tongatapu, in Nukureka. And Tu and I have a conversation that we're just gonna leave it there. If we have another Polynesian nation or the Polynesian tree of islands that have an earlier date, then we can always there's many other places that we can do tests to find much older than Nukureka because I believe in some of the oral history that there's older places that we can find that we haven't discovered too much. We just stopped at Nukureka because that's the oldest and that settles the score on that one on there. But I don't know, Tua, you have anything else?
No, this is the reason I just thought this would be a good way to close because everybody thinks that we're picking on Ha'amoa or no, we're not. It just happens to be the most prominent idea out there, right there, right? Is that is where the origin's from. As we've gone through the digital kava sessions and our social media, we're learning all kinds of history, right? Like we
Mm,
mentioned, Tuna and Fata being from outside of, of Samoa. Then now we're learning our brothers and sisters in Eastern Polynesia saying Tapu Tapu Atea was actually the center of Polynesia. And we're hearing that Eastern Polynesia was its own break off or settled separately. And then we also hear from our brothers and sisters in Fiji of the Tuifiti or the Tuipulotu Empire. So we which one is it, right? We have to walk through and we have to talk about these ideas. I'm sure we're starting to turn the corner on Ha'amoa.
yeah.
We've visited it, we've walked through that. We're kind of turning the corner. It's like, okay, looks like the next major discussion may be Eastern Polynesia and
Okay.
talking more about, you know, maybe you have the oldest island there, but I remember a guy from Puka Puka, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, he said that in Mangaiya there are Tongan ruins in Mangaiya. And so, or is it Puka Puka? But in that area, there are Tongan ruins that oral history says there are Tongan ruins in those areas of the Cook Islands. So, if you're talking about geology, the oldest island in formation, well, maybe. But if
Mm,
you're trying to use that position as that means that's where Polynesia originated from, we're doubtful of that point.
very likely.
But we're trying to keep an open mind and at least
Yes, sir.
entertain the idea. But
Yeah.
we must warn you, Tetereroa, our goal is to kill a bad idea sooner than later.
Yes,
We
sir.
don't want you to walk around Teteroa and say, like our sister we showed earlier, that the difference between cookies and Polynesians are are this or that, right?
Hmm.
And But yeah, I thought that would be a way to close it out. Just looking at the time. Any
Yeah.
closing thoughts, Mr. Aotearoa, for the live digital conversation today?
No, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. A special thank you for everyone that's contributed to this live digital kava session. Thank you for your guys' kava bag that you brought to this live digital kava session on the Polynesian Eyes podcast. Appreciate the support, appreciate the comments, and always the your guys' engagement to trying to understand our history. We just provide the content of what our thoughts are and Tevi Tafale's work of the Polynesian origins and history, and you guys decide to help you guys just help with your guys' understanding and also part of your identity as Polynesians out in the out in the world, and also the Polynesians who view this from the islands, from the Polynesian islands. Love you guys all. Until next time, Ofatu. That's it for me. Malo.
All right, Malo, Mr. Aotearoa. Want to thank all the viewers and listeners, and especially those who brought the kava and shared the super chat kava bags for
Yeah,
us. We will collect those and use that to palu our next live digital
yeah,
kava session, which will be tomorrow. For those, very rarely can we predict when our next kava session is going to be. But tomorrow around 5 p.m. Pacific, for those in the United States, I believe that's around 12 p.m. New Zealand
afternoon.
time.
Yeah,
Afternoon tomorrow, we will have a live digital conversation with a guest, which we're very excited for. But we want to say thank you to everyone who, in the super chats, threw
yeah,
in their digital kava bags. Now, if you're joining us after the live session and you're watching the recording, you can still contribute a bag of kava through the super thanks, and we will make an effort to bring up your super thanks comments on our next live digital kava session. Once again, very grateful for our listeners and our viewers. The last 2 months for the podcast have been phenomenal in regards to support, interaction, and just overall growth. And want to thank all the viewers and the listeners for that. And as we always share at the end of a live digital kava session, stay curious. Don't be afraid to ask the bold questions. Until next time, peace.
peace. Malo.